What's up, fancy people? It's your boy Isaiah Smallman. We're getting spooky this week again, guys. It's not Halloween anymore, but it might as well still be Halloween. We love Halloween. We're still talking about Halloween. We're talking about scary stuff. I've got a proposal for John. It's a real hoot. I guess we'll do it that way. It's presented by Mama Bear Studios. Mama Bear's mission is to create entertaining works of art that explore our humanity. Okay, here's episode 23.
Oh, it feels like it was just minutes ago we talked.
I know. Isn't that weird how that works? Time flies. So, John, we didn't catch up about Halloween last time.
Oh, baby.
Did you have any Halloween plans? Did you do anything? What did your kids go as? I mean, I got to know everything. I got to know it all.
Oh, well, we took the kids out. For sure. All the neighborhood fams came down.
All right, I'm going to guess what they dressed up as.
Yeah.
A ninja and a pumpkin.
Close.
Mm-hmm.
They were
Okay.
Harry Potter and Harry Potter.
Oh, so I wasn't actually close.
Not that close. They were actually Harry Potter and I think Ron Weasley, but there was some debate about that, as you can imagine.
Oh, I can.
Yeah, so they went as Harry and Ron, and my bride went as one of the teachers, Trelawney.
Oh, I can see that 'cause she's got like curly hair. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And I went as, Neville Longbottom in the books.
Love Neville.
Yeah, I went as Neville Longbottom's Muggle cousin Derek, which really just meant he doesn't appear in the books, but I went as him, which basically just meant I wore like a sweater and a rabbit fur hat.
His Muggle cousin who happens to live in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Yeah, he's not in the books, but he's an important character. I told... This little girl walked right up and was like, "You're Harry, you're Ron, you're Professor Trelawney." And she looked at me and like kind of shrugged. She nailed it, she like nailed everybody's costume.
Yep.
And then I told her my joke that I'm Neville's Muggle cousin Derek, and she did not like it.
She's probably a purist.
She was wearing a princess costume. She was giving me all kinds of sass.
Wow. Sassy sass.
But we walked down the street to this like little wealthy enclave, that they got like the streets blocked off, that kind of thing usually.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
The kind of place I live right next to. I live on Missionary Ridge, but there's like a little special neighborhood that's its own city, right by where I am.
That's cool.
And it's on Missionary Ridge. So on the neighborhood email list, you always get emails about suspicious people, which really means like people that look like me and a little bit darker. But today, on Halloween, not today, but the day of Halloween.
Tell me.
Everybody from around the area drives to this little enclave.
Oh.
So there are hundreds of people.
That's so fun.
Who are not from that neighborhood that come up to that neighborhood. And it's totally cool. Like everybody's wearing costumes. All the people are out in front of their like fancy houses. They've set up tables. And so there's no knocking on doors usually. It's just you walk up like to the front of the house, but they've got a table set up, and they're like, here's some like full size candy bars, like take 15. They spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars on candy.
I love it.
And that's what the vibe was. It was like, It was pretty fun, dude.
That's great. Yeah, I saw the movie Halloween on Halloween. Which was a fun way to... Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun way to spend my Halloween afternoon.
Was Halloween good?
I liked it a lot, actually. It's, I'm learning something. Well, all right, there's a larger conversation here.
Uh-oh.
No, in a good way. But I want to... John, you told me a Halloween joke once. I think it's very funny, so I think you should tell it.
What's that?
You told me a Halloween joke.
Oh. Yeah, it's...
Your Halloween joke. How many Halloween jokes do you have?
I've got 3 or 4. I've got kids.
The one that I'm thinking of.
You mean the blue one? Mm-hmm. It's why can't ghosts have kids?
I don't know.
Because they have hollo-weenies.
That is a good one, though, I think.
It's pretty good. All the other ones, the punchline to all the like kid jokes that I know end in like ghoul friend. Because she was his ghoul friend. That's the punchline to like 45 jokes.
It's probably not even funny once. Although I'm laughing right now. Yeah. I thought Halloween was quite good. It has plenty of issues. There's something about let's back up. I didn't used to like scary movies. Mm-hmm. And I wonder, this is my theory, John. It's because when I was kind of coming of age into adolescence, which I feel like is when most people either fall in love with scary movies or completely miss the boat, right?
Yeah.
The scary movies that were sweeping the nation at that point were primarily torture porn, like Saw,
yeah,
or found footage terror movies like Blair Witch Project or Paranormal Activity, that kind of stuff. Which people like those, but that's not really my thing, you know.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I saw Halloween. I actually haven't seen the original Halloween, which is incredibly embarrassing to admit because it's kind of a classic. Some people think it's great. I know you think it's...
It turns out this entire podcast is us explaining what movies we haven't seen, which is most of them. and rendering a verdict on them at the same time. We haven't seen this, but it's not great.
I've heard that John Carpenter's Halloween is a classic.
Uh-huh.
I don't know that for sure, but I have seen the spiritual sequel, Halloween, with Jamie Lee Curtis. It's very fun.
Whoa. She's in it?
Yeah, dude, it's 40 years later. It's picking up the story after the fact.
Oh, and she's like, I actually did hear about this. She's like preparing for battle.
Yes. It's it has some great moments. Here's where I was going with that though, John. I think I realized kind of for the first time, because I've seen a lot of scary movies recently, and I've enjoyed them. Like Hereditary, I thought was a blast. Get Out was an absolute blast. There's a lot of movies I've seen lately that I really enjoy. But this was one of the first horror movies that I've seen recently where I thought, I think I kind of want to make a scary movie at some point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like and I think it's partly because I really like camp, you know, and I really like the sort of corny expressiveness of certain types of horror, which you don't find as much in the found footage thing. You don't find it as much in torture porn. You find it in sort of the movies that people like John Carpenter pioneered, where they're like, it's a real cinematic language. I mean, it's really great visual storytelling, because you joked about this previously, but you've got a character like Michael Myers who literally doesn't speak. You've got to figure out amazing visual ways to make him a scary villain. And they do it, you know? So, I don't know. It just got me, it got me kind of excited.
When I was a kid, early teens, me and my friend we're at his house in Jersey, and it's after school, so it's like 4:00. We somehow convince his mom to let us go see the re-release of The Exorcist.
Ooh.
And so he and I go to the theater.
How old are you at this point? 14, you said?
Yeah, we were definitely not old enough to get in
that might
there,
be a little young.
But somehow we got in. Mm-hmm. No problem. So we're sitting in the audience. The theater is completely empty because it's like 4:00 on like a Thursday in New Jersey, you know. But actually in front of us was an entire row of nuns, if you can believe it. Nuns.
I want to watch The Exorcist with a row of nuns.
Yeah, there was like 6 nuns sitting like 2 rows in front of us. And if my recollection is right, we were the only people in the theater. It was the nuns and us and maybe like 1 or 2 other people in the back. And that movie, I had never seen it. I didn't know anything about it. And we saw it, and it was shocking. I mean, it's totally shocking. Yeah, and there's some like seriously line-crossing scenes in that, towards like blasphemy. Mm-hmm. In a way that I have never seen in a movie since, really, where it's actually real enough to be powerful. You have all kinds of like blasphemous ideas in movies, but this like really hits at Catholicism hard.
Yep.
And it was like traumatizing, man. That movie is intense.
It's
and not campy.
It's no. See, that's the thing. I've seen The Exorcist, believe it or not, and I like it. I think it's a good movie. I have seen it once. I don't know that I'll watch it again necessarily, although I might go back to it at some point. But yeah, that's the kind of movie I watch that and I'm like, I respect it. It's excellent filmmaking. Not my thing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and to be clear, there is a scene where how old is a girl? 10-year-old girl? 12 maybe?
Yep.
12-year-old girl.
I'm curious how you're going to describe this.
Is in a bed with her legs spread, inserting a cross into herself.
It's a lot.
It is intense.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like intense psychological stuff in that movie. And of course, there's great visual effects. Mm-hmm. And that, I mean, they wrecked those people physically, apparently. Like the young girl and the mom, when she gets like pulled across the room, apparently they completely screwed her back up for the rest of her life.
Oh, that's so sad. Yeah, that's not worth it for a movie.
I don't know. It's a pretty powerful movie.
Yeah, but that's her life, you know?
One life, powerful movie affecting millions of people.
Here's why that's not worth it, because they should have figured out a way to do it that didn't hurt her back.
Yeah, 100%. But dude, the technology, were they filming on like a tin can back then? It was like 1970. It's not that long ago. Have you ever seen the clip of Quentin Tarantino talking to what's-her-face when they were filming Kill Bill?
In the car?
Yeah, have you seen that?
It's not good.
Yeah, it sounds like what I just said. Like one life for a movie.
Quentin
fine.
Tarantino's not a great guy, I don't think.
You know, apparently
he's a great guy.
Apparently has a foot fetish. And if you watch the movies, any of them, apparently, like, with that in mind, you're like, oh, he really does.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, he does talk about in Pulp Fiction how, they debate whether a foot massage is the same thing as oral sex.
Right.
Which to him, perhaps it is. Yeah, no, I know some people that have worked with him, and he's not a good guy. He's a bad dude, unfortunately. He's just mean and, like, just, to your point, like, he just kind of doesn't give a shit about anyone but himself, and everything is in service of the movie to a fault.
They say in business, there's, like, it's kind of popularly theorized that a certain percentage of high-power business people are psychos, like actual psychopaths, you know?
You'd almost have to be to get into certain situations.
Yeah, and you're going to operate really effectively, like in this climate, you know? Like in
absolutely.
In a sharks and minnows type capitalism, like you're going to thrive if you have no conscience and you don't feel remorse, you know?
Yep.
I don't know if it's true or not, but people say that. I wonder if it's the same thing, like in almost any field, that psychos are going to rise to the top because they just have the drive. They don't care who gets destroyed in the process.
I think some of them will. Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably pretty rare to be a true psychopath, but I think people who just have a degraded conscience have somewhat of an advantage for sure. I mean, Trump is an example of that. He's just playing the lowest common, whatever. We don't have to get into politics. John.
This guy, the guy who made the test to determine psychopathy, he used himself as a case study, and it turns out the guy who invented the test, turns out he had psychopathy himself, or
really?
was like scored like really high on the on his own test
spectrum. I wonder if that's part of the reason he was able to understand what makes someone who has that condition the way they are.
Right.
John, this is actually, it's funny, I didn't think of planning it this way, but this is a perfect lead-in to a conversation I want to have.
Uh-oh.
I know. I have rigged your basement with gas. In 5 minutes.
You wouldn't have to rig it.
John,
you just have to move some boxes around. Gas would definitely start coming out of some of these pipes.
But here's the thing. I've rigged it. You look down at your ankle.
Uh-oh.
Do you see the chains?
Oh, no.
There's a key that I hid in your sandwich this morning, your breakfast sandwich.
No. Right.
There's a knife taped to the bottom of your mic stand.
Oh, no.
You have 5 minutes. Decide what to do. We're going to record this whole thing on air. It's going now, John. I'm watching the clock. You got 4 minutes and 50 seconds.
If that actually happened to me...
Oh, it is actually happening, John.
I would break this flimsy wooden table, and I would walk out of here.
There's a sniper standing outside. The only way to get out... Yeah, John, there absolutely is. You know that big tree behind your house? He's up at the top of it. You can't get out of it this easily, John.
Okay, I know what I'm doing. I can't get out. Okay, so you're telling me I got to open my stomach. I got to open my stomach.
You got to cut yourself open. Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
Okay, well then you're going to die of poison.
Isn't it? Okay, take.
It's nerve gas,
this.
John. It's not going to feel good.
You're asking a guy to choose between opening my stomach, eviscerating myself, and definitely dying, a painful, horrifying death, or just
John,
open that door and get shot in the head.
No, but there's also a surgeon outside. And he can sew you back up. So you won't die.
I'll just have to have a colostomy
You
bag.
can see why I would never write a movie like this. I'm not good at coming up with these things.
Isn't that the exact premise of Saw? I saw the movie Saw.
Yeah, no, I've seen it too. I hated it.
That's exactly it.
I hated it. No, it's a terrible movie. It's not even good. It's not good at all. It's the shitty version of Seven is basically what Saw is. You know? Seven's a great movie.
Seven is good.
Speaking of the head in the box.
Yeah, head in the box. Yeah, wow. Callback. Man, John, we've been doing this a while. Okay, John, no, the real conversation I want to have is, it does not involve you dying yet. Oh, thank goodness.
John, I'm watching Halloween. I'm sitting there thinking, you know, I got to think about, there's a lot of layers to this, okay? But I'm so feel free to interrupt. But I'm sitting there thinking, this would be really fun. Like I love rollers. I love the idea of making a movie that's relatively kind of grounded in reality. And I love that these characters are very real and it's kind of fits into realism for the most part, although there are some moments of kind of surrealism. But I just feel like my next project, it would be really hard to take a big step up in terms of the things I get to try. You know, the toys I get to play with. Like we were talking about the last episode with like having a bigger crew, you know, all that kind of stuff. I think I have debated whether or not Rollers is the right movie to take that step on, but I think as we discussed, even if I make Rollers at a larger budget, it's still going to be the same movie. It will just be made slightly differently with more resources, which I'm not going to do that. But my point is, if I wanted to make a bigger movie, there's part of me that thinks I should start thinking about whether there's a way to fit ideas that I have that I'm excited about to blend those with genre elements that will make the movie more marketable and therefore more feasible to get financing for at a higher budget. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm not making any sense.
Well,
I feel like let me recap. If I make a genre movie next as my second movie, I feel like I could take a bigger step up, both because it would force me to learn completely new tools as a director, and it's also just easier to get genre movies made than it is to get dramedies made. And I love genre movies now because I finally, while watching Halloween, which again is an incredibly flawed movie, but while watching that, while watching The Visit, while watching a handful of other sort of more campy horror movies, I realized, you know what? Horror and comedy, not when you're making Paranormal Activity or Saw, but like there is a type of horror that is sort of a close cousin to comedy.
Sure.
And I realized that maybe I would actually really enjoy that process, and it might actually open some doors for me to make a bigger movie.
Yeah, I mean, I love it.
You do? What do you think, though? I mean,
well,
because I have a second part to this, but I'm curious kind of how that strikes you.
Well, you know, I'm sitting in my creepy basement, and I'm telling you, man, like renovating houses.
Yep.
Doing that process and like moving in, especially when you have an old house, like this house that I'm in is about 100 years old.
Yeah.
You know, maybe 110, somewhere around there. And there's been families, multiple families have lived in this place. They've raised kids here. They've sent kids off to war, possibly. They've married people. They've had fights in here. People have gotten beat up in here. People have gotten divorced here. I mean, there is so much stuff going on.
Yeah, because even if it's 110 years old, even if every family lived there for 30 years,
yep,
that's still 3 or 4 families.
Yep.
And 30 years is a long time, you know?
It's a lot of things. That's a lot of
Yeah.
like a kid 70 years ago in here went home, you know, went into her room that my kids sleep in and she cried herself to sleep in there, you know?
Yeah.
And some boy found out that he didn't get into the college he wanted to 25 years ago and like went upstairs into his room and got drunk. I mean, there's tons of shit happening in here. And dude, when you start peeling back the layers of a house, like I'm doing, or like people do, you discover secrets about people, the people that lived here. And you develop a picture of the people that used to live here. And it's really like kind of creepy in a way and really fascinating. It's like definitely there have been movies made about this, but every time I'm down here and I like come across some weird curio from the people that lived here, you know, maybe it was like 50 years ago and some like 2 or 3 families before in some cases. It strikes me that there's like a script that needs to be written in there.
I like it. John, all right. So speaking of writing a script then, I think that you and I should collaborate on a scary movie.
Oh, baby.
I think we should write a scary movie together. And I'm curious what you think about that. I'm not necessarily assuming that you would want to sort of write the actual screenplay necessarily, although I think you could with me. But I think we could even just start with a couple, you know, just start talking about ideas and like kind of try to break a story. But I'm curious what you think. I just think it could be really fun.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, you know, I haven't ever written anything like that before, but, you know, you don't know anything until you do it, so let's do it.
Okay. That was easy. That was easier than I expected.
You got any ideas rattle around in there? I gave you one.
I like the one that you did. I feel like, though... Okay, I got a couple. I'll run them by you. Okay? All right, so...
I'm sitting back.
Idea number one. No, but I need you to push, too, so don't sit back too hard.
I'm half an inch sitting back.
Okay, all right, perfect. Let's make it a quarter of an inch. So, okay. Idea number one. Okay, so we're moving last week. I'm in a new house. Now.
Ooh,
speaking of peeling back the layers, yeah, I'm in a new house. It's about the same age as the house that you were just describing. And I'm having all the same thoughts. I'm like, who the crap was living in Los Angeles in Alhambra in 1912? Who was living out here?
Yeah.
That was like, America wasn't that big in 1912.
Wow, you do. That's some like risk takers, you know?
Who the heck was already living out here? Because this isn't even like downtown. Like, this is like a suburb.
I just have this vibe of California that is it's a ton of crazy people because it's people that took extreme risks originally to get there or came there under duress. Like a lot of the Asian population was brought in originally to work on the railroads.
Yeah, they're
like
basically
going way
slaves.
back.
But dude, that's one thing I actually really love about Los Angeles is there are these indigenous populations that have been here. You know, there's a huge percentage of Asian people whose roots go back to the mid 1800s, whereas mine only go back to like the early 1900s. I mean, when this house was built, I don't even think any of my ancestors were in America yet, or if they had, if they were barely here.
Totally,
which is crazy because there's all these Asian people who have like 150 years of history here. Yeah, John. Speaking of scary things, speaking of scary movies, I've got two early stage ideas that I want to talk to you about possibly collaborating on. All right, so we just moved, and every time I walked into the back of the moving truck, and everyone else who helped me move noticed exactly the same thing without me saying it. You just get blasted with this dank, sticky weed bud smell. Like fresh.
Seriously?
Fresh, dank Cali Gold. Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know what it was. We never figured it out. But it gave me the idea for a
They're
ghost.
moving weed in those trucks for sure.
I mean, that's actually, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, of course. Taking it over into, like, where? Where would you take it?
I don't know, but
Texas?
I mean, if it stinks like that, there's no way they're going to get through the customs. But yeah, you're right. No, shoot, dude, that makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
It was stinky. Like, it was
I'll bet.
real dank. Anyway, I got the idea for... I don't think this is the idea, John. I'm just starting small.
Oh, you're going to start smuggling cannabis from
No,
California.
No. It's about a guy who moves into a new house, okay? And the house is haunted. But it's haunted. He finds out that it's haunted because he keeps accidentally getting high. And he can't figure out how. And it's haunted by Stoner Ghost. And
Give me a break.
And Stoner Ghost died in some humiliating way, like heating up some nachos or something, and his microwave exploded or something.
Jeez.
But Stoner Ghost died very recently, and he's haunting the house. But
Hey, man.
the guy who lives there and Stoner Ghost become friends, and it becomes like a buddy comedy haunted house horror movie.
Oh my gosh, I'm out. I am out of this one. Boo, man. This sounds like a Cheech and Chong. You ever see Cheech and Chong?
It's kind of Cheech and Chong-y. That's why I don't think it's the idea. I don't think it's the
my
one.
goodness.
You gotta
it's
admit,
funny.
though, Stoner Ghost is pretty good.
It's funny. I'm smiling. I'm laughing, thinking about Stoner Ghost. I think there's a ton of gags, but this sounds like a SNL skit more
Yeah,
than
no, I know. It doesn't sound like... I got to figure out what the real hook is, because there's got to be like a real movie there.
Should do, though? I mean, you don't even have to do a full movie. I watched the other day on YouTube, the other day, it could be like 5 years ago, but they have these like horror movie competitions or whatever. They're short films. Some of these were like a minute long, and they were good. They were really good. Good premises, well executed.
Where'd you see those?
On just like on a YouTube channel called like horror contest or some crap like that. And they were like high quality. I mean, they were not kids stuff. It wasn't like
That's cool.
amateurs. Yeah, they were very good. I'll find them and we can put a link to them. But
Yeah, that sounds
I
good.
remember some of them vividly. Like there was one guy who made about a dozen of these 1 to 5 minute horror shorts, and they're very, very good.
I wonder what he's
I'll
up
find
to.
out. He's just cranking out horror movies probably now.
I wonder if I should just go buy one of them and.
Well,
it
that's
into
the
a
thing
feature.
is like you can make a quick like horror short.
I'm
It'd be
doing one
fun.
actually soon. Yeah, we're.
Oh, really?
I'm actually in the process of producing a horror short right now, for this really talented director named Dave Farino. Yeah, I'll talk more about it sometime later. But basically, yeah, we're gonna produce his short and then hopefully turn it into a feature at some point.
What's the budget on a horror short?
Small. I don't want to get into super specific numbers, but very small.
Yeah,
Super
okay.
small. I mean, it depends on what the short is. This one has some cool VFX that we've got to figure out. But yeah, usually tiny.
Dude, I'm going to just start making short videos with my 2 sons in my basement that will scare the freaking crap out of you.
You had me at basement. Okay, John, here's idea number 2.
Uh-huh.
Okay, this is idea number 2. This one is more, I think this one has more legs, okay?
Yeah.
The high level pitch. Anyone who's listening to this, I'm letting you in on some secrets now, so don't go stealing my ideas.
Don't
Not that
steal.
I don't think anyone listening to this is about to do that. But don't go steal my ideas. I'll come after you. I got it on the record now. I'm gonna come after your ass. I'm gonna haunt you. I'm gonna haunt you if you steal these ideas.
Stoner Ghost.
I'm gonna Stoner Ghost the shit out of you if you steal these ideas. So the idea with Stoner Ghost is that Stoner Ghost keeps getting him high. And it's like that's part of the problem is that he doesn't he like has to go to job. He's trying to get his life together, you know. And Stoner Ghost is not helping, you know. Stoner Ghost is making it more difficult. Anyway, Stoner Ghost brings back some really dank stuff from the underworld, and it turns out there's like this villain who's also haunting him, and it becomes this kind of battle for survival. Anyway, the other idea, John.
What's the bad guy's name? Is it Beelzebub?
I haven't. Beelzebub. Ah! I love it, John. You know
I'm getting a writing credit on this.
Oh, I love it,
For
John. I want to
Beelzebub.
give you a writing credit on a movie. That's what I'm saying. I want to do that.
Beelzebub, baby.
You know what this movie is called, John?
What?
High Spirits.
Ooh, that's
Pretty good, right?
pretty good.
Credit to Grant Withington for coming up with that one.
Oh, Grant, yeah, with the 1-2 punch, baby.
Yeah,
High Spirits. That's
great
good.
Name, isn't it? All right, so High Spirits.
I don't know. I'm giggling. I'm into it. I think it's funny.
I got to find the actual plot hook, but I think I've got the characters. You know what I mean?
You're going to have a scene where, like, he's been in front of the judge, and she's like, "You mean to tell me, Mr. Baker, that a ghost made you fail this drug test?"
I love it. All right, John, idea number 2. This is the one I'm serious about. And again,
okay,
all you listeners out there, Teddy Bronson's got my back too. If Teddy hears about hears about you stealing, you better watch out. Teddy gets serious about these things. Teddy's a bit of a bulldog when he needs to be.
He takes property rights seriously.
Oh yeah, intellectual property, baby. Okay, John, here's the second idea. Have you seen the movie What About Bob?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
great movie.
It's one of my favorites. What About Bob? But Bob is a serial killer, a dormant serial killer. And we open the movie with the Bob character basically being like this is just like the pitch. It'll end up becoming its own movie entirely. But, it's nice to just kind of say, like, what about Bob as a horror movie, right? So we open the movie and we see that this guy is this insane. This is like a real, it's going to be funny, but it's going to be like a real, like, horror movie. You know what I mean? And we see that this dude is just a brutal killer, right? But then the next thing we see is it's like 10 years later. He hasn't killed in a long time. He never got caught. And he's kind of bored. You know what I mean? And he's trying to figure out what to do. And so his next mission...
with killers, by the way.
Exactly. Oh, I've studied killers a lot because we talked about this, but we almost produced a Ted Bundy movie. I've been reading about John Gacy. It was a
great script.
Yeah, you read it. Oh, man. Incredible script. But these guys, they take breaks. Some of them lay dormant for many, many years, Yeah. And this guy... Yeah, exactly. Tons of them. This guy decides that because a lot of these guys, they like to play psychological games. You know what I mean? Like, that was one of the things that was so striking about Ted Bundy. He's incredibly smart. He takes a lot of pride in kind of manipulating people. And this guy basically realizes, like, killing random people is too easy. He's bored with it. It's not a thrill anymore. He's got to up the stakes, okay? He's hitting his midlife serial killer crisis. And what he does is he basically decides to try to get close to and fool and eventually murder a psychiatrist who specializes in people with these types of tendencies, right? And he's going to basically, so he's going to basically create intentionally this game of cat and mouse where he's trying to be discovered, but kind of on his own terms. And the psychiatrist is sort of also at a little bit of a plateau in his career. And so he is basically trying to exploit this to potentially, like, be a case study. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so he has his own motivations. Anyway, what ends up happening is the guy, because Ted Bundy, by all accounts, was an incredibly charming guy. All of these guys were. That's part of the reason they were able to do what they did. This guy ingratiates himself with this guy's family. He follows him to a lake house. It's all the same beats as What About Bob, potentially, but it's like has this ultra dark twist to it. And I don't know. I just think that's the premise. I don't know exactly what the plot is, but I think it could be kind of fun.
I like it. It's interesting. The What About Bob is such a fascinating movie because there's so many, like, just because it's so much about mental health. There are references to some, like, really dark ideas. All throughout What About Bob, there's a ton of stuff about suicide, depression, nihilism. Like, there's a ton of dark humor in that.
Totally.
And it could be a movie that goes in a totally different direction. It is kind of ripe for that.
So I don't know. That's what I'm thinking about. I think that could be. That seems like John. And I partly thought of you because we do this podcast. I think you're a great writer, but also I thought of you because, like, I remember when we both read that Ted Bundy script. I just feel like we both had an interesting kind of connection about it. But yeah, I think it would be a movie that deals with all of those topics. Like, what is the value of life? what is how far do we take things in order to sort of succeed, and what's really different about Bob, his name won't be Bob, obviously, but this killer's motivations versus a doctor who's kind of exploiting him, and things like that. Like, I just kind of want to make it a deep, elevated, funny, scary movie.
You got to add some elements too. Like, we've already talked about this, of the James Dobson element, the guy who is like taking advantage of this horrible criminal for his own purposes,
Oh, I think there's something there.
The other
John,
thing
I think there's something there. All right, this is when we take the conversation offline, because that's some good shit.
Bleep. The thing that occurs to me, though, about like a serial killer movie, right? Like, as a thing, is it's really hard to follow the killer. Like, did you see the movie Zodiac?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you?
Fincher.
We've already talked about Seven.
Right.
Sorry.
Did Fincher make Zodiac too?
I think so. I don't know.
I think he did.
Somebody famous made it.
I don't know.
It was pretty good, but of course, you don't ever see the killer, or very, very brief glimpses of like a gloved hand. But it's all from the point of view of people that are chasing him.
Yeah, I was gonna say those are chase movies. Those are whodunit movies.
Yeah, totally.
This is a psychological game movie.
So is it the kind of thing where the audience is immediately in on the fact? Are you in on?
Oh yeah, it's all about the dramatic irony. The very first thing we see, because I've had this idea, like, can you instantly transition from a truly funny movie into a truly dark, scary movie? Because I've always thought that it would be cool to try to capture both. And so the way I see this movie starting is just with this, like, we start with sort of a pre-credit sequence where we see what this guy is capable of. And we see that he's being sought after and that he's outsmarting everybody. And then the very next thing we see is him, but he's a completely different person. Not because he has multiple personality, but because he's a master manipulator, right?
Right. Yeah,
and no one knows who he is. He's just living his life.
That charmed his lawyer into a woman, into wanting to marry him, while she is defending against very obvious evidence that after he murdered women, he took them into the woods and had sex with their... But she defended him in court against these, like, she knew that stuff was true, and he was so charming that she fell in love with him. Like, that, he was a
complicated
things. He's the guy in the woods and the guy
He was
in
a
the
complicated guy. And
really...
one of the things that I love about that movie is it's also about the FBI agent who sort of first understands Ted Bundy and becomes his friend. And he begins to realize the darkness that is in himself, and it's a very scary moment for himself. And I think we can all relate to that. Anyway, so the idea is it's all based on dramatic irony. We know from day one that this dude is a psycho killer and that he's messing with the doctor. But the doctor, his family, it's this whole thing where you're like, it's more like a monster in the house, and that they need to get out, but like for various different reasons they don't. It's more that kind of situation.
Is it the kind of thing where the psychiatrist let's say it's a psychiatrist, they know from the beginning that the guy is this undiscovered serial killer? They suspect strongly, they have no clue.
That's what we got to figure out together.
Yeah, I mean, the like traditional model for this is that she doesn't have a clue, then she grows suspicious, and you see her start to unravel it. She unravels it, they have some big confrontation. He nearly kills her. She somehow prevails.
Right. I think we can turn that on its head a bit, make it more interesting,
Or the twist version of this is that we're leading the audience to believe that this guy is a serial killer and this woman is trying to discover it, when in reality, the psychiatrist is going around and killing her patients or whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot of options. We're gonna get into them, but I'm glad to have this conversation, John. So we'll talk about it. We'll keep people updated. The one thing, John, that that worries me a little bit about this, I'm just trying to be totally honest. There is another part of me that, as soon as I said this, I thought, am I doing this because I'm scared to make rollers.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And I'm curious what you think of that. Was that one of your first thoughts?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like I'm trying to self-sabotage?
No. I think it's that was not my first thought. My first thought was you like good stuff. Like you really like stuff, you know? Like a lot of people, they would go see Halloween and they would say like, "Damn, good movie." And that's the end of it. But you saw it and you were like, I want to do something that makes me feel
like I want to thrill people.
Yeah, I want to make people feel the way that I felt when I left Halloween. And you're in a position to do that, so you can think about it and you could be like, maybe my next one would be this. So it's not exactly all I didn't think it was like all self-sabotage, but I think there's another part of you that's like always wanting to like start the next thing because that's the exciting part. That is the exciting part, like dreaming about it and projecting it and not having to like make annoying phone calls and all that, all the bullshit that you're having to do right now. That's not fun. Like getting no's in the mail from the actor, all that shit's not fun. The dreaming, the projecting is fun.
And I think what I need you to do is hold me to that. Cause like,
sure, but I also really want to see High Spirits become a movie.
Kind of a good movie, right? Well, and that's part of the trick about this.
Wait, did I say it right? Is it high-spirited? High-spirited?
That's part of the problem is like, I think the best thing I can do for my career is to start thinking ahead. But I don't have a career if I don't make rollers well. Right. And I gotta do what's
both. In front of you.
And I gotta figure out how to do both because I would love to be in production on another movie before rollers even goes out into theaters, because I think that, you know what I mean?
That.
And yeah, go ahead.
But let me pause you before you say anything else. Be totally honest. If somebody did an audit of your movie right now, like the process, right? Like, and I don't mean like a bank or anything.
No, but
like, let's say I fly out to California right now. And I like look around at what you've been doing, you know, like I talk to the music guy, I talk to the people that are helping you. Would it be obvious that shit was like being taken care of and all the ducks are in a row that need to be like, I'm not saying it's done. I'm not saying that you're not at a farther stage than you are, but do I show up and it's like pretty apparent that this is falling apart? Or not, things are not being taken care of.
Do you show up and you realize, like, I haven't bathed in 3 weeks and there's just papers piling up on my porch?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm worried about, John. That's what I'm worried about.
I'm going to make a movie.
No. Here's the thing, John.
Okay, that's what I'm asking you.
No, I'm a doer.
Is the shit getting done?
Yeah, it is. It's getting done.
Okay.
Is it getting done as efficiently as it could? I don't think so.
Are you sitting around dreaming about making Halloween 5, or are you doing what you need to do and then dreaming about it?
I think I'm doing both. There are certain things that I'm not doing, and I need to just man up and do them, you know?
Like what? Give us an example.
I need to do another quick pass on the script. It's probably going to take about a day. I've gotten some really good notes that I would like to incorporate. I need to do that. I haven't done it, you know, but I'm also getting stuff done. Like this week, John, this is a big update. The other day, I signed a contract and put down a deposit on the venue that I'm going to shoot at. Big deal.
Oh,
huge
okay.
deal.
So pause though. That is very good, and it is a sign to me that you're not self-sabotaging and that you're not.
No, I think it's less that I'm actually self-sabotaging and more that I'm not a procrastinator. But I do think I am procrastinating a little bit. And here's the real challenge. I think John, here's the thing. I think the chances, I think I've already subconsciously tried to destroy rollers and I survived. You know, like I think episodes 18, 19, 20 sort of chronicled that process of like, I think I was asking a good question. I'm glad I went through that process. I don't regret it. But I do think there was definitely part of my subconscious that was trying to kill rollers, you know? I think Tara recognized that. I think you recognized that. I think a lot of people were encouraging, but also had some questions like, are you trying to destroy this before you can fail? You know, I think that's really what it comes down to. And I think that subconsciously, that's perhaps what I was doing. I think consciously, I really was asking good questions. Now, I think I've survived that. I think I'm going to make rollers. You know, like I don't think I'm going to blow it and just blow it up. I do think that there's a chance that I could make it at a level with that is below where it should be. You know, that I'm not as prepared as I need to be.
To fully exercise the secret, you need to not say like I am. You need to just say I am making.
Yeah. No, you're right. I am making rollers, and I'm not concerned about not making it. I'm just concerned about, will I be focused? And here's the thing: we're still a ways out. You know, like there's a lot of stuff that I'm way ahead on.
Supposedly,
we might actually start shooting
February?
in late January now. It's coming up, but at the same time, here's what I'm not doing as much as I could, John. But then at the same time, I don't know if I can totally do it. It's like annoying phone calls. Like I gotta fill out this freaking. I gotta build a company of like 35 people. You know, I gotta, and my producer's really helpful with all that stuff. Obviously, she's great. But like, yeah, man, I gotta find like the makeup person's assistant, and. You know, I mean, it's kind of, they probably will end up finding their own. But, like, I got to find deals on gear. I got to figure out where we're going to park cars. I got to figure out who's going to provide food twice a day for an entire month. I got to...
Some dad is like, paying student loans off for Juilliard for his kid who's a makeup artist assistant.
Makeup artists can make some banging money.
It's not about money money.
No, yeah. You don't go to Juilliard. Do makeup, but dude, some of it's an art. Speaking of horror movies, you know, there's real art in it.
You know, I keep shitting on everybody. I apologize.
Okay. It's okay. We need that. That's you're voicing opinions that I think everyone has. Everyone thinks. That's the thing, man. That's part of what's cool about this podcast. I think everyone, myself included, before I started making movies, I was like, how hard could it be? And now I'm like, oh yeah, this is hard. I mean, I've done it before, but like,
I can put on.
Ooh, it's hard though.
Because
dude, I got it. So the things I'm not doing are partly things that I'm just, they don't make sense to do 3.5 months in advance. You know what I mean? So that's part of why I do have some time. But you know, yeah, I think I stayed up till midnight last night writing a song for the movie. You know, so I think. I'm making some stuff happen, but yeah, I am procrastinating a little bit because you're right. It is way more fun to think about a movie that does not exist than to think about the phone calls I need to make for the movie that does.
Right.
And I got to balance it. You know, I got to balance it because in some ways, thinking about a new movie invigorates me to make rollers even more. And in other ways, I'm like, I should just make that one. That one sounds easier. Of course it sounds easier. Of course. It's not going to be. It's not going to be easier. It's going to be just as hard. Harder, probably, you know. But trust me, that feeling is there.
Have you ever taken like a psychological test, you know, like even a survey type one online?
Yeah. I've done a number of them, actually.
Like a personality test.
I've done a lot of them.
Yeah. And you ever read those and they have questions that are like incredibly specific, but they resonate with you?
Totally.
Like,
some of them are
I
freaky,
saw one.
man. They're predictive almost.
Freaky, yeah. I almost said what mine was, but it would like really give away some of my personality.
Like
flaws.
your Myers-Briggs type?
No, I'm just kidding.
I
was gonna make up some atrocious thing. I don't know what those are. Is that the letter one, like INTJ and all that?
I'm kind of an ENFP, but I'm also kind of an ENFJ. I don't know. I think Myers-Briggs is limited. I'm a big Enneagram fan. Have you ever studied the Enneagram at all, John? We'll do an episode about it sometime.
I'm not even sure
Enneagram is really cool. It's ancient. It's old.
Yeah, my thing with the INTJ.
Old. No one even knows exactly when it started. It's very old, and there's only 9 types, but there's subtypes. It's really phenomenal.
What are the types? Give me one of the types.
So I'm a type 3, which is kind of like.
Oh, I knew it.
Well, you know, we're running out of time. We should just do a whole thing on Enneagram at some point. The big difference is you kind of type yourself. Like you learn. It takes a lot of self-awareness. It takes study. You kind of have to you can take tests and they give you suggestions, but it's much more malleable. It's kind of like when you're healthy, you gravitate towards a 3, but like when you're not healthy, you're kind of an unhealthy 6 or something like that. And it really helps you sort of figure out like how to sort of curb certain, or how to lean into certain things. And it's really great. But
I will tell you that this doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes I know I keep harping about this basement, but sometimes down here, if the feeling that I get being down here, which is extremely frightened, if I could convey that to an audience, we'd have a hit.
I think you're right, John.
I'm frequently so creeped out down here that I have to leave.
I feel the same way. I don't know how some people can just do that. Like, some people are just like, there's nothing down here. And I'm like, yeah, there might be. There could be.
Yeah,
crazier things have happened.
Really...
Dude, I thought about this when I was watching Halloween. This is kind of my closing thought.
Yeah, hit me.
So the premise of Halloween is, Michael Myers. Great villain, I think.
Yep.
Because that mask is freaking terrifying. And also, funny story about the Michael Myers mask. Apparently, when John Carpenter originally designed that mask, it's literally a William Shatner mask that's been, like, messed up. Yeah. We'll link to a side-by-side.
William Shatner from Star
Yes.
Trek?
And it's like a big classic kind of horror story. Like story within horror culture is what I mean. Not horror story.
Right, okay.
Anyway, but great villain. Just stone cold. He's like a shark, He's just no emotion. He's just a stone cold killer. And great villain. But anyway, in the premise of this new movie is that Michael Myers is being transferred to a new hospital where he's never going to leave again. He's going to die at this place, right?
Sure.
He somehow, the bus that he's being transferred on crashes and he gets away, right? But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, John. I had exactly the same reaction you had, which was, yeah, right. Yeah, right. But here's the thing.
Convenient.
John, he's not like, in the world of this movie, he's not Hitler. He killed like 6 people. Lots of people have killed 6 people, which means how high could the security even be for this guy? Because like, you can't have 100 bodyguards for every single guy who's killed 6 people.
We've talked about him a million times, but Ted Bundy escaped from jail at least twice.
Exactly. And it sounds insane in a movie,
caught.
But then you realize it happens all the time. Ted Bundy got out of prison multiple times.
I went to a funeral in Florida, and I met the guy who caught Ted Bundy for the last and final time.
I know who this guy is. Crazy.
Yeah, he escaped. Ted escaped from prison, and this cop happened to pull him over, like, in and around, I guess, I don't know if it was in the Everglades, but it was kind of around there. And he pulls Ted over in a Volkswagen that he had stolen, and he looks in the car, and there's, like, rope and a tire iron and duct tape, and he's about to look up and confront Ted, and Ted bopped him on the head, knocked him out,
smokes.
And sped away. And the cop got up and got in his car and chased him down and arrested him. And then he went to the electric chair. Or the gas chamber.
Lethal injection? I don't remember. No, it was electric. It was electric. Wow. That's crazy.
Anyway, nuts.
Dude, there's really, in some ways, Ted Bundy is more of a terrifying villain than Michael Myers in the sense of body count. Which is crazy. Life is stranger than fiction, man.
If you don't believe what Zay said is true, just look up in California the Night Stalker.
Oof.
It's horrifying.
Yeah, dude, these people exist. And anyway, my point is, I think it's easy. I'm such a cynic when I watch movies. I'm like, that's not real. That would never happen. And I'm like, well, how many security guys can you actually have for some random guy who's a serial killer? Not infinite. These guys do get away. It's kind of scary. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Well, on that delightfully light note.
I'm so nervous.
Get out of that basement, John. Oh, wait. You're chained to the table. You got 3 minutes now, John. I paused the timer so we could finish the episode, but now you're really screwed. I'm sorry.
The guy from those Saw movies was Wesley from The Princess Bride.
Oh, that's what he did.
He's in every single... He's like in all of the Saw movies as a recurring character. No, he's not. He's a guy in the first one, who gets described exactly what you said. He's like chained to in that room, and he has to like saw his leg off or whatever.
By the fifth movie, he's just like sawing off the other part of his arm, like his upper arm. He's sawing it off at the shoulder now. They're like, we hit it in your nub. A guy I know actually made, speaking of Saw, like, a guy I know made, because Jigsaw is kind of like the puppet villain guy. A guy I know made Jigsaw at The Office. It's so funny. I'm gonna send it to you. It's man.
What do you mean?
Like if Jigsaw was Jigsaw was at an office, like it's called Working with Jigsaw, and he's just constantly doing these like low stakes, super annoying pranks. It's really hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyway, John, it's been real. I'm maybe gonna go work on some roller stuff. It's also gonna be a lot more fun to sit here and try to break the outline for the Stoner Ghost movie. But I think I might try to do a pass on roller script. We'll see.
Yeah, you should. But I googled it. Beelzebub. I don't think this happens very, very infrequently. I got exactly one result back.
Whoa! So there's space in the market for Beelzebub.
Yeah, and it's because the guys published something with Beelzebub spelled wrong.
Oh, so we are alone in the world. I love that, John. That's rare.
Yeah, utterly.
That's a rare
Beelzebub, baby.
Like I said, though,
I'm gonna take that to the bank.
Yeah, and we better get to the bank quick because I have a feeling someone listening is gonna jack it because it's that good.
All right, Uncle Zay. We'll talk
bye,
soon.
John. Yep. See ya.
Bye.
Well, you heard it here first. High Spirits, your boy Stoner Ghost, coming to a theater near you. Written by John Schimpf and Isaiah Smallman. Today's show was produced by John Schimpf and Isaiah Smallman. Intro music is The Get Down by Summer Dregs. Outro music is The Man From Nowhere by Tom Paulus and Max Bells. That sounds like a good title for a horror movie. Cover arts by Nate Giordano. This has been a production of Mama Bear Studios.
Feeling the heat of the desert air. The rambling journey is all I know.
It's your boy